Look, the Supreme Court gave quite a sort of narrow finding, and we respect the decision of the Supreme Court, but they decided what the definition of sex was in the Equality Act.
Do you agree with it?
Well, it's what the court has decided, so yes, on that, of course. But there's a separate issue where they haven't provided clarity, and that is how the Equality Act and the Gender Recognition Act interplay with each other. And that is the question that hasn't been settled. So one issue has been settled by the Supreme Court, another issue has not been settled. And that's why we think the government needs to bring forward guidance to provide that clarification about how those two pieces of legislation speak to each other so that individuals and service providers understand who has which rights and how to uphold and defend those rights as well.
But do you think Downing Street was correct in issuing that statement to say that the Prime Minister believes a woman is a biological woman, by biological sex?
But it's entirely up to Keir Starmer and Number 10 to say whatever they want to say.
Yes, but what do you think? Do you agree with it? Was it right for them to do that?
What I think is that the government should be providing further clarification about how these two pieces of legislation interact with each other. For 20 years now, trans people have had their rights defended in law, and it now seems as though this new interpretation of the law may change some of that. That's provided a huge amount of uncertainty and distress to a very small number of people who now don't know how they can access public services or public spaces. So what we really need to do is take the sting out of the debate, take the stigma out of the debate, take the heat out of the debate, and look at this from a human rights point of view and say the Supreme Court has provided clarification on this point.
Yes.
We still don't have clarification on this other point. That's where the government has got to bring forward that guidance.
So the Liberal Democrat view is now in agreement with Keir Starmer that a woman is a woman defined by her biology. I keep wanting to say ideology for some reason, biology.
We accept what the Supreme Court is saying. We accept the Supreme Court ruling on the definition of sex in the Equality Act, but that doesn't solve the other problem that we still have, which how these two pieces of legislation work together to make sure that nobody suffers from discrimination. That's where we need some further clarification.
What did you make